Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. I'm KP. Nick is here in attendance with me once more because today we're going to be going through our Raw recap from last night's edition of Monday Night Raw. This is the 20th of October edition of Raw, and we got a whole lot to discuss and go through here in this particular episode. So how about we break everything down? We discuss all that happened throughout the course of the night, starting with our very first little bit of situation to deal with, and that would be Adam Pearce and the World Heavyweight Championship picture. So Adam Pearce would open the show. He would be very quickly interrupted by an arriving Bron Breakker, Bronson Reed, and Paul Heyman. They'd pull up into the arena, and they would make their way straight out to the arena and, get up in the face of Adam Pearce. Heyman would be there. He would sort of just be watching on as this goes on. He had some great facial expressions while this conversation was taking place. But Pearce would basically go on to say how, thanks to the action of both Braun and Bronson last week attacking Seth Rollins, laying him out in that very heinous and surprise attack, Seth is at home recovering from surgery. He was pretty banged up from the match against Cody Rhodes anyway at Crown Jewel, but Braun and Bronson have put Adam Pearce himself in a position where he has to strip Seth Rollins of the World Heavyweight Championship. Adam Pearce would announce that at Saturday night's main event, we would then get the title being up for grabs as CM Punk is the number one contender. He'll go one-on-one with the winner of a battle royal that will take place later on in this episode of Raw. The winner of that one will go one-on-one with CM Punk at SNME. So with that being said then, Adam Pearce, he would move on to his next bit of business, which is getting the world title back. He would request to Bron Breakker to hand over the world title, but Bron, he would sort of have a bit of fun with Pearce here, and he would actually ask him to say please first. Pearce would eventually say, respectfully, and please could you hand the title back? He needs it back. He would make sure that was very, very clear. He respectfully needs the title back. Please, Bron Breakker. So once he would eventually give the title back to Pearce, Adam would quickly scuttle off. He'd go off with the title, and Heyman would then take to the mic. He would basically say how the vision had absolutely nothing to do with Seth Rollins. He says how he didn't betray Roman and Punk at Mania either, but actually because, he believes that Bron Breakker is the future of WWE, and that Bronson Reed is just better than Roman Reigns. Heyman would say that Seth can't shoulder the responsibility of leading the WWE into the future anymore, and that he's just a bum-shoulder bitch. He would then thank the crowd for their indulgence and time for welcoming, and then would welcome them all to Monday Night Raw. Quite sarcastically done so from there, but it was... I guess it was, just a little bit of, animosity being thrown towards Seth Rollins there. Clearly, they are moving on without him, and they absolutely want nothing to do with them anymore. As that would sort of take place there, Pearce gets started back. That situation we dealt with. We go into our first of 3 championship matches for the night. A whole lot of titles on the line here. And this would be for the World Tag Team Championships, being defended by Judgment Day's Finn Balor and JD McDonough. They would take on the team of AJ Styles and Dragon Lee. This was a really fun match. Very, very high-octane pace throughout the entirety of the contest. Just generally speaking, all 4 of the guys, just absolutely going hell to leather. For the most part of it. And there's some really nice close and near falls during the matchup, made it quite interesting. We had a phenomenal forearm that was really, really, really close to a 3 count, but JD McDonough getting involved and stopping that from taking place. We even had a coup de grace from Finn Balor, which was saved by a leaping Dragon Lee over JD McDonough to save Styles. Just generally speaking, just the match just flowed really, really well. It was a great tag team contest. And this is only the Judgment Day's second defense since winning the titles 112 days prior to this matchup, which is quite crazy. One every 56 days is a pretty poor ratio for title defenses. So yeah, not sure why this always happens where Judgment Day get hold of the titles, but it happened before, it happened again. It's very interesting for sure. But this time we would have Judgment Day's Finn and JD actually lose out in this contest because Dragon Lee and AJ Styles, they would take the titles off of Judgment Day, and we got our brand new World Tag Team Champions crowned here on this Monday Night Raw. But yeah, it was a really, really fun match, really entertaining, just so quick and high energy throughout the whole matchup. I had a great time watching it. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on how the match went, Nick, as well as what your opinions are on us having new tag team champions. I think it's probably long overdue. and just glad to see it sort of happening, I guess now rather than later down the line. So it's been long enough. So hopefully we see these titles, getting a bit more prestige to them, being defended a bit more, just genuinely just having more going on with them, because they've been sent to the back for a while, and they need to be brought back up into the center frame, at least a bit more often. That's for sure. We then go into our second title match of the night. This would still see Judgment Day action, as Dominic Mysterio would be putting his Intercontinental Championship on the line against Rusev for the second time in a few weeks. Obviously, you throw back to the last time these two met, and Dom did everything he could to get the better of Rusev, and he outsmarted him on that occasion. And after a pretty decent match between the two of them in this one, towards the late stages, Dom attempts to sort of do something very similar. So the action spills to the outside. We get Penta, who comes on to insert himself into the situation, as he's been sort of involved with Dom recently as well, trying to get a title himself, and has had a couple of face-offs against Rusev, interactions with him. So Dom was trying to scurry off with the titles at this point. That's when Penta comes in. And Penta sort of gets up in the face of Dom, and Rusev just sort of shoves Dom into Penta. They go crashing down, and as that's sort of spiraling out there with that situation, Dom sees an opportunity to capitalize, and he grabs the bell hammer, which we saw being used against Penta the week before. He gets into the ring. This allows Rusev and Penta to have a little square up with each other and to face off against one another. Rusev simply knocks Penta down to the floor with a right hand, and then gets back into the ring. Dom has put the hammer in his boot at this point. He's did what he did last time. He's looking for a 619, and he catches Rusev with it. But as he's doing so, Rusev actually catches Dominic Mysterio, and he then keeps hold of him, takes the hammer out of Dom's boot, and gives it to the referee. So you think, Rusev's he's got the one up on Dom this time. Not for very long though, because as the referee is about to give the bell hammer back to ringside, Rusev's distracted by that. Dom just gives him a low blow and sets him up for the 619, hits it, and then a frog splash later, Dom retains his Intercontinental Championship. So it's more dirty, dastardly tricks from Dominic Mysterio. Same old for him essentially here. And once again, outsmarting and just scheming against Rusev, and picks up another victory against him in a title match. So yeah, it's consistent stuff from Dom. You got to say, right? He's always finding ways to hold on to his title, and this is just another way of doing so for him. So yeah, he's just always one step ahead. But it looks for always got a plan B, plan C, whichever. And that definitely played out here in this one. But decent enough match between the two men. And again, Dom sleazing his way with that title. Nick, what did you make of our first half? 2 title matches, one changing hands, obviously with those tag team titles, and the situation between Adam Pearce and the world title with the Vision. Pretty decent start to Raw, and it felt pretty big, from these first few segments.
Yeah, just on paper, it looked like a pretty big episode of Raw. We obviously had a feeling that probably won't get very many title changes, but maybe, hopefully, at least one. A bit more on that in just a bit. But yeah, the opening promo I thought was obviously very much needed. Needed to figure out what they were going to do with Seth's title, and they kind of did exactly what we expected in terms of action. So taking the title, and you have to admit it looked pretty good on Braun Breaker's shoulder. Perhaps a sight we'll see sooner rather than later. But as for the actual promo, I thought it was pretty good. I would have liked to have a little more in terms of kind of the why, because if this is the route they determined to go, I think they could have capitalized on that a bit more in terms of Braun, letting him talk a bit more. I think that would have been helpful in building his character. But regardless, Paul's, his mouthpiece, if you will. So it's good enough. And like I said, I think having him kind of say that he didn't need Seth, or Seth isn't the wrestler he's going to be, something along those lines, just to make him appear like that badass that they're putting him out to be. But regardless, the please bit with Adam Pearce was great. Of course, Adam Pearce is going to do whatever he wants, but definitely Vision doesn't get the last laugh on this particular night. So a bit more on that too later. But as for the first title match being that tag match, Yeah, that this was incredible, of course. With the talents involved, it was always going to be good. Just how good, and I thought this was great. One of the best, probably weekly shows we've gotten through for the year so far. Probably, um, just high flying by all four guys, of course, and a much needed title change, as you kind of mentioned, maybe a bit overdue. Um, Styles getting one more title reign under his belt, it's incredible. And AJ, or I'm gonna do that a lot because the AJ and Dragon Lee bit, I've already done it once in the previous weeks. The AJ Dragon Lee bit, I think that's a really fun team, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. Dragon Lee was being very much underutilized, and so if this is the beginning of his, ascent to the top, sign me up. This is a great team, and it feels like they're probably going to be more of a workhorse team than the Judgment Day. For whatever reason, love Fenn, love JD, but every time they get those tag titles, they appear to become a bit irrelevant. So looking forward to maybe some more defenses, coming a little bit more often, hopefully. But yeah, that was an incredible match to start off our three in a row tag matches, which is crazy to think. The Intercontinental Championship, Dominic Rusev running it back, and kind of more of the same, really, from what we've seen, just a slightly different ending. And honestly, considering all of that, it still was pretty entertaining. Mysterio, I don't think he's the best in the ring, but in terms of character work, arguably one of the best in the business right now. So, for what that's worth, I would have loved to have seen a Rusev win here, but I knew the chances of that were pretty slim. And then, of course, Penta getting involved, as we assumed probably most that he would. And I think eventually we'll have a Rusev, Penta, maybe Dom. Blow off, and I think that match could be incredible. Forward to that if that is our end game. But yeah, Dominic Mysterio doing it just once more. And a lot of these guys in action twice with that number one contender world heavyweight battle royal at the end of the night. But in terms of what we got here, yeah, considering that the outcome was very very predictable, still pretty entertaining. So yeah, pretty entertaining first half of Raw for me.
Yeah, and it was for me too. Definitely think that it hit a lot of right notes to kick things off, and like I said, had that big feel to it. And I think with these matches, it sort of like did play out a little bit like that as well. Let's move on to the second half of Monday Night Raw, and a little bit more to discuss here. First and foremost, we'll begin things with Maxine Dupree going one-on-one with Becky Lynch. That's for the Women's Intercontinental Championship, so our third of three title matches here on this episode of Raw. Yeah, Maxine, obviously, a couple of weeks ago, she had a really, really good match with Becky Lynch. That was basically sort of like a stellar coming out appearance here, I guess you could say, for Maxine. And obviously, getting that win via count out gives her the chance to sort of like, take another step in the right direction and beat Becky Lynch properly. And being in the hometown, getting that home crown, just adulation from the audience. Yeah, she seemed to be, right at home. And yeah, she had a great reception. But yeah, as the match went down, didn't think it was quite as good as their match from a couple of weeks ago. Not to say this was a bad match as such, but just generally speaking, I thought the previous one flowed, I don't know, a lot better, and I thought we saw a bit more of Maxine, and just generally thought that one was just a bit of a better match. But in terms of the finish here in this one, not particularly happy with how it went down. I mean, I guess they're protecting Maxine Dupree, so whatever that's worth, I suppose, that's something. But yeah, when it comes to how it played out in the end, Becky just struck Maxine in the back with her title. So, getting the disqualification, Maxine Dupree beats Becky Lynch again, but by DQ, so doesn't win the championship. So yeah, maybe I don't know, like a bit of a sour note there, really, the ending. But it was a decent enough contest. It wasn't bad at all, but yeah, I don't know. It just didn't quite feel like it hit the same as maybe the one a couple of weeks ago did. So yeah, a little bit unfortunate about that. But yeah, Becky even adds insult to injury at the end of the matchup because she just further attacks Maxine Dupree post matchup. And yeah, after the bell just completely lays waste to her, hits a manhandle slam, lays her out in the middle of the ring, and just walks back with a title. So yeah, the man handling business, I guess you could say here, getting the job done, quickly getting out of there, and that's basically all she needed to do. So yeah, I don't know, unfortunate, not quite as good as I wanted it to be, but decent enough, I guess. We then have another women's matchup, which would be Roxanne Perez going one-on-one with the Women's World Champion Stephanie Vaquer. And this is an opportunity for Roxy to basically insert herself into the world title picture. That was sort of, the typical interaction that we witnessed previously before this one. And Raquel was basically saying to Roxy, get your head in the game, focus up here, because this is your chance to really get into that picture. Unfortunately for Roxy, though, she probably won't be in the title picture because she would take the loss in this contest, losing out to Stephanie Vicaire in the end. And it was after a pretty back and forth match. It was kind of decent, to be fair. I wouldn't say it's like a world-class matchup, but, it was good for what it was. I think just showcased the two women, got the women's world champion in action once again, and showcased a little bit more of Roxy, which is always good to see. But yeah, once the matchup was all said and done, eventually we would have, Raquel and Roxy, obviously not very happy with the result, with Roxanne losing. Raquel comes in, starts attacking Stephanie Vicaire, and Roxy then piles on as well, helps her out. And that would see the return of Nikki Bella coming down to the ring to the aid of Stephanie. And she would help out Vicaire and clearing the ring of both Roxy and Raquel Rodriguez before the two-stand tall at the end of the segment. So, yeah, it clearly seems that for now, Stephanie Vicaire clearly has an ally in Nikki Bella. Someone that, has, I guess, has shown a lot of respect towards Stephanie for the past few months. I think she even had a backstage segment with a little bit after this contest, basically saying how they've only known each other for a few months and they've only been friends for that long, but she does have her back, and Stephanie would reply in kind saying that she does have hers as well. So mutual respect between the two women there, coming together to take out to try and sort of take out the Judgment Day's Roxy and Raquel. Could we see a tag team match going down the line? It looks like probably we will do. So yeah, we'll have to see how where that goes basically. And into our main event for the show, and obviously we spoke about this already in the night. It is going to be a number one contenders battle royal for an opportunity to face CM Punk at Saturday Night's main event for the World Heavyweight Championship. So, I guess this one played out as a pretty fun battle royal. I think it just generally had a lot of decent parts to it. We had a little bit of feuds here and there. The tag team championship contenders from earlier on the night, they were all in there and they play part in eliminating each other. We had Dom eliminating Rusev and Penta, so obviously that Intercontinental Championship scene going on. Little fun interactions between a few people. Sheamus, Otis, and Ivar was in the mix as well. Some big guys there, really. And towards the very end of the matchup, you've only got a few people left in the ring, and it's Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, LA Knight, and Dominic Mysterio. And Jimmy Uso and LA Knight are on the ropes. They sort of try to take each other out. And Jay, he's got an option here, and he chooses to take out both Jimmy and LA Knight. So I guess you could say really he wanted Knight out of the matchup, but obviously he had to accept that was going to come at the cost of eliminating his brother Jimmy as well. But he didn't really hesitate. He just completely went for it the second he got the chance to, and took out both men. That leaves him with Dominic Mysterio, and Dom attempts to take out Jay from behind, but it doesn't quite work out for him. Jay throws him over the top rope and wins the Battle Royal. So it will be Jey Uso against CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship at Saturday Night's main event. And what a waste. What an absolute waste of a Battle Royal. In my opinion, personally, this is where my personal vendetta comes back into the fray. We just literally had CM Punk pin Jey Uso last week on Raw to be the number one contender for, at the time, Seth's World Heavyweight Championship. And now we're running this back again. LA Knight was right there. That's all I'm going to say. But as for this one, I don't know. It just doesn't seem to hit right with me. Yeah, I don't like Jey Uso that much. I don't rate him as a singles competitor. He's not very good, in my opinion. He's all flash and no substance. But I don't know. I can't sit with it. I really can't sit with this result. LA Knight, I don't know what he has to do to actually get a world title opportunity and actually win the damn thing, because it genuinely looks like he's never going to. This was literally the moment. They had it set up to a T, and they still didn't take it. They instead want to go with Jey Uso against CM Punk again for some reason. So I can't fathom it. I really, really can't. You could argue LA Knight lost that match last week as well, but he wasn't pinned. So, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I don't know, Nick. Maybe you can spread some more light on the situation. Maybe you think it is a good decision. I know it's for character work for Jey Uso. I get that. Him with Jimmy. There's stuff going on there. But I don't know. I can't really back it, to be honest. What did you make of not only the main event, but also Maxine against Becky for the IT title, and then Roxy against Stephanie Vicaire in that singles matchup?
Well, I will say that the first half of Raw was definitely better than the second half of Raw, perhaps foreshadowing my opinion towards that main event. The women's intercontinental title match, I thought, had maybe two goals, one of which was to continue to pick up Maxine Dupree's stock. And I felt like, for the most part, it did do just that. Showing that Becky had to go to the lengths of getting her own title shot, hitting Maxine in the face with it to get out of the match. So I think that makes Maxine look good. Obviously, Becky is pretty fired up throughout the whole night, not happy with what happened with Division and her hot husband, as she calls him. So yeah, I think there are clearly a lot of emotions being tied there. And then with all of that, I think Maxine will probably get yet another shot because of how that went down. So maybe that's a Saturday Night Main Event match that we'll get. Uh, Perhaps I think they could probably give them some time and show off Maxine just a bit more. But yeah, this like you said, not as good as their last one, but still decent enough. And continuing to build up Dupree, which is again was the main goal. The Roxanne Perez Stephanie Vaquer match, yeah, that was of course a good match considering the two talents there. Two of the future faces of the women's division, I can confidently say. But then Vaquer getting the win, I think probably the right call. Huge commercial break during this one I would have preferred not to have seen, but that is weekly television for you. Yeah, I think Vaquer getting the win here was the right call, and then afterwards, of course, the Judgment Day doing Judgment Day things, attacking Vaquer, and then to have Nikki Bella come back, I don't really need that, honestly. Best case scenario, they're gonna go into a tag match. That could also be a Saturday Night Main Event thing. Vaquer and Bella versus Judgment Day. It just feels like Vaquer is above that, and honestly, so is the Judgment Day. Yeah, I would prefer not to have had Jay win, as you kind of mentioned, a bit redundant based on what we did last week with the number one contender match. LA Knight kind of getting that Liv Morgan treatment at this point, always so close, but never quite getting to the top. Uh, yeah, yeah, I think that with the final four being Jimmy, LA Knight, and Dominic and Jay, like you said, I understand the importance of having the Jimmy J stuff done, and I think Jimmy will probably come back to cost Jay to let CM Punk win his Saturday Night Main Event. I imagine that's the direction they're going. Uh, but honestly, I would have rather seen any of the other three guys win. Just feels like we've kind of been there, done this way too many times lately, and so it doesn't feel very fresh. But as for the actual match itself, I thought it was great up until then. I just think LA Knight was probably the right call, but then again, I think Punk's clearly going to win it, so maybe that's why they didn't want LA Knight to lose at that state again. I guess maybe LA Knight will eventually take it from Punk, but won't get into that too much. But yeah, for what it was, yeah, just a bit of a deflated feeling after seeing Jay win it. Just didn't need to. Uh, Clearly busy with Jimmy and that whole storyline. So regardless, we'll wait and see. We won't make the plans for what happens after Punk wins the title, but it feels like that's the obvious direction they're going to go now. But yeah, in terms of Raw as a whole, yeah, I thought this was a really good Raw. I guess the one thing we did forget to mention was the Paul Heyman promos where Adam Pearce kind of got the last laugh and asking Paul to say please because he took out Braun and Bronson from this battle royal because it felt like that was probably going to be the super obvious option was to put it on Braun. But Pearce taking both of them out, I think essentially because of what happened earlier. In the disrespect that they showed Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce has a very big ego, so you try to knock him down a peg, he will get his revenge. And yeah, took them out, and then we see a promo later where Heyman's basically saying, "Well, do you remember the big dog? You remember the tribal chief." And then he goes on to talk about a couple other of his talents that he had throughout the year, including CM Punk. Basically says there's a lot of workings to go through it, politicking and all of that, and basically says just trust me, I'll get you guys back where you need to be. So I like that it didn't immediately get put, Braun in this situation, although I would have preferred that over Jay. But I do like that there's still some storytelling to be told there. with division. So so that was a good call as well. But yeah, as for Raw as a whole, yeah, this was a really good episode of Raw. Again, main event aside, I feel like everything kind of had a purpose, and everything story wise is continuing to tell tell a story. So I like that, continuing angles there. But yeah, I think I give this one an 8 out of 10. Definitely some good moments in there. Of course, the AJ Styles Dragon Lee title winners there. That was great as well.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a tale of two halves, really. This one, I think the first half, it did seem like it was going to be pretty good, and then going into that second half, it almost had like a little bit of a sour taste style vibe to it. And I think it fell a little bit flat comparatively speaking to what I was hoping, maybe expecting to take place, especially that main event. I really can't understand what the decision there is, but I mean, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what goes down from here on. But am I excited for a CM Punk Jey Uso match? No, I'm really not. But yeah, we can speak about that all day long. I'm not going to. But in terms of this episode of Monday Night Raw, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Like I said, I think with that title win, I think that for the for AJ Styles and Dragon Lee, that was a really cool moment. That was really great to see. And then yeah, it just sort of like slowly went a little bit more downhill as the show went on. So yeah, not great. That was it peaked very early. But there were a couple of high points here throughout. So I guess you can take that for what it was. And like you said, things are being built forward, and we can always look at that, and that is something that is is an important thing. It's going in the right direction, but just unfortunately with that main event, I think it's a couple steps back, which is unfortunate. Yeah, that is basically everything that we have to say here at the push about this episode of Raw. So if you liked what you saw here and heard here today, then please consider hitting a like on our video and subscribing to our channel to keep up with future releases coming up very soon. We're always pretty busy here at the push, loads of content coming out all the time. And also, if you have anything to say about this particular episode or anything in general, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear what you're thinking, whether it's good, bad, and different. Please let us know. But for now, this has been The Push with Nick and KP, and we'll see you all again next time. Take it easy, everyone, and goodbye for now.